Yo, yo. What a game. What a game. Let's let some people in here for a bit. Holy smokes, man. Holy smokes. Hold down the fort. I'm going to be back in 2 seconds. 2 seconds. We're going to let some people get up in here. There we go. The numbers are coming. Let's do the thing.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect that.
You're telling me.
You're
telling me. Entertain the people, Brian.
I'll do what I can. So what do y'all think, man? Is Duke a decent team or I mean, I don't think anybody expected that kind of ass whooping against a pretty decent Illinois team who has a lot of talent. That was the efficiency offensively, defensively. That was MSG does not disappoint when it comes to Duke. I mean, we get there, we take over, walk in the trap, make it our trap, and that was exactly what happened. I mean, shared the rock. I think 28 assists in the game. I think we had 6 turnovers in the entire game, and a couple of those were, first half at the end. That was something. I mean, everybody played. Almost everybody scored, honestly, except for some of the preferred walk-ons. I mean, Hubbard with the step back house money 3 was nice. I mean, Caleb Foster got going. That was impressive to see. If you look closely, you saw a smile on his face, which is something we haven't seen, in many, many weeks on the floor. So yeah, that was something.
All right. Good stalling. Nicely done.
I did what I could, man.
Yeah. Let's see. We got some bodies. Let's just get started. Let's not wait. Let's not do the Zion thing of having us go 40 minutes until the show starts. Let's get the thing started. There's no way he's listening to this either, so he won't know what I said that. What's up, Zion? All right.
You throw all the shade.
He's going to try and join later. He's at Madison Square Garden. So let's see what he can do. Let's see if we can get him here. But for now, let's hit that intro.
The three of you guys, man, thank you for what you guys do, and appreciate you guys having me on.
We were trying not to score and everything. We got about 33s or something.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of felt that. We kind of feed off that energy.
This place is amazing. Like I really love Duke, and I love the atmosphere I'm in here.
Mark Williams, beast mode. Paolo, first half, he had the cramping stuff. Fair enough. Beast mode.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Russell. I'm here with Brian. This is the Crazy Cast. Zion is at Madison Square Garden. He's going to try and join if he can in due course. But until then, hey, we're going to hold down the fort right here. There's not much to talk about.
There's like no pain points there.
This is an embarrassing episode of the podcast. If I can make this like a 20-minute episode, then maybe I will. I'm also not as savvy with the setups as Zion is. So in terms of trying to put the stat broadcast up here, I'm not convinced I know how to do that. So it may just be our beautiful faces right here.
Take our word for whatever stat
You're going to have to take our word for it. Duke 110, Illinois 67. I mean, Jesus Christ. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. Brian, why don't you get us started? I mean, tell us some of the stuff that you saw. Tell us your general thoughts. It's hard for me to even figure out what to say other than, yep. Pretty good.
It was a business trip, and they handled business. It looked like they knew they were going to win from the opening tip all the way through the game. They came in with a business-like, attitude, and they just took care of it. Like there was no, like I said, no pain points. They did what they needed to do against a team with some high-level players, and it made them look like a JV team. I mean, and obviously Illinois. I mean, if you can't hit open threes, you're not going to win anywhere. So,
oh God,
that was ugly.
I mean, I feel for them a little bit. I mean, they're a bad 3-point shooting team. They're not 7.7% from 3 on 24 attempts bad. I mean,
No,
that's 26 attempts. Excuse me. Yeah, just really bad. They their biggest problem is they couldn't get stops. I mean, they almost scored a point per possession. I'm not going to say that's a brilliant performance necessarily or anything, but almost a point per possession. They're a top 20 offense. That's still a decent performance by them. But where they got absolutely demolished was on their defensive end and on Duke's offensive end. Duke scoring 1.57 points per possession in a 70 possession game. Our first 70 possession game since the Kentucky game. So we were really kind of playing at their tempo. Didn't seem to bother us at all. Zion's in the Zion's at least in the comments. I don't know if he's we don't want to get like some noisy subway video here. But
there was very little opposition to us. I mean, they just couldn't stop it. I mean, it's one thing when you have a player or two that can score the ball, but when every player on the court can put the ball in the bucket, what do you do? Like, what do you do?
I mean, you look at the top scorers for tonight. Isaiah with 17, Coop 16, Con 15, Man at 13, Caleb Foster with 12, Tyrese with 12, Sion, not Sion. God, every media person calling him Sion is warping my brain a little. Sion with 11. Obviously, Spencer had a big bucket. Mason had a bucket. Pat had a few buckets. Darren had a bucket. Like, dude, what can you say? Like, this is such a purely enjoyable team. I'm having a great time this year. My analytical brain doesn't really have anything here. I mean, we out-rebounded an elite rebounding team by 14 here. Illinois' assist-to-turnover ratio is 10-9. Our assist-to-turnover ratio is 28-6.
Good God.
I mean, this is just one of the most dominant performances. I mean, we hit 52% of our threes. Even once garbage time hit, we were still hitting the threes.
That's a problem.
There's nothing to say. I mean, I thought early on maybe it was going to stay interesting because they were putting man-man in pick and roll stuff. And he, the first few times, looked a little lost. And so I was like, okay, I mean, this is basically all Illinois does on offense. So maybe they can keep that rolling and, it's just a shootout and we'll see what happens. But if you can't make threes, and also Man figured it out. Pat did a pretty decent job in those coverages as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they just couldn't get anything going. Even I know some of their 3-point attempts were open. A lot of them were at least contested, bare minimum. People running at them, leaping at them.
Yeah.
Boy, I have nothing negative to say.
I mean, even on those open ones, I mean, the scouting report for them is they shoot 31% from three, so you're going to let them take a few, You
definitely let them take a few. I definitely get nervous in terms of looking ahead at the long run at these teams that take a billion threes. Their game plan is clearly, because they're a team that's elite at rebounding and they shoot a lot of threes, and they're generally elite at preventing their opponents from shooting threes. So their game plan is very simple. We're going to take threes. You're going to take twos. Even if we make 31% of our threes, if we're taking way more shots than you and you're taking mostly twos, then by the numbers we'll win, right? That's their game plan. From the math side of things, I get it. That's not a bad game plan. But when you can't get the rebounds and you can't make the threes, that blows all of that apart very, very quickly.
And you're not getting stops. There's
no stops at all. At all. Wow, 1.57. I haven't looked at everything that we've done this year. But that's got to be one of the best we've done, if not the best all year. Anything you want to talk about in terms of? I don't even have anything to glean from today.
I want to say kudos to John for scheduling this game. I mean, not only did it get the fan base excited and college basketball in general excited, I think it got his team excited. I think there's a certain amount of doldrums that happen when you're playing ACC. In the middle of the ACC season, you're playing teams that and I think being able to take a trip like this to Madison Square Garden against a high-level team that you know is going to be a tournament team, that you know is a high-level team, and everybody's watching in prime time. I think this is the kind of thing that gets your team ready for March games.
Keep talking on that for 20 seconds.
Not a problem. I mean, and I know Shire said he was going to start scheduling these things, and I think this is good, not just for the sport, but good for his team. I mean, I hopefully there's a high-level team like a UConn next year or someone like that. I mean, imagine that, UConn Duke February, right before March comes. That's a game that I would pay to see, especially in MSG, where you're going to get probably an even number of Duke and UConn fans. This was a great one. Some of the chats coming in. Looked like it was going to be a hard one when the schedule came in. Yeah, I mean, everything the Illinois is pointed to this being a much harder game, but I think a lot of confluence of things with them being a little bit off through sickness and just Duke being on fire made it a lot easier than any of us thought. So yeah.
I honestly think this had nothing to do with sickness. Like
I don't either. I mean,
they said coming into today too that they were healthy. Like I saw on the Illinois, like in Trilly's Discord and whatever, they were like, yeah, they're ready. They've shaken it mostly. I mean, like obviously they don't have Montez. Was that his first name? Johnson, was that his last name? I
don't remember his name, honestly.
Admittedly, I don't remember. But they didn't have him, obviously, and
we didn't have Malik.
And he's more of an athlete, so I mean, I do think that matters for them. But and they may just not have run up and down the court as much over the last, whatever. They also definitely had a shorter window to prepare for this game than we did. I'm sure that matters as well, but like I kind of expected them to be to short bodies, period, and they weren't. I mean, like this is still a team in Illinois. Like they sucked tonight. They were awful. But like there's still a team that beat Wisconsin at home. They beat Missouri neutral court, and Missouri is incredible right now.
They're really good.
Just beat UCLA like last week. Granted they've lost a lot of games, but the Big Ten is really tough. I mean, you look at the games that they lost, and most of them are relatively excusable. Wisconsin on the road, Michigan State, Rutgers on the road. I mean, it's really hard playing there. Yeah. Maryland at home. You obviously don't want to get blown out by Maryland, but also Maryland's a top 15 team, Ken Palm. Michigan State again. They only have a couple of losses there that are really head scratchers, and they've competed pretty consistently. I mean, they almost beat Tennessee. I don't know. Like, they're obviously a different team now. They're slipping. They're definitely not that caliber team. They're probably like a top 30 team right now, 35.
Yeah, which is still, you don't beat a top 30 team by that much unless you're firing on all
No. Yeah.
And the analytics guys love Illinois in the tournament, so it's one of those things where I think Duke was just on one tonight, and I think that's because they stepped out of ACC play. I think if they're playing
Morez, you're right, Mark.
Yeah,
I was wrong. Because I think analytically, and they've got, at least before they've had injuries and illness or whatever, they had versatility, which is not something that Big Ten teams generally have. They could play with their big man who can shoot threes. They could have played with the more athletic dude. They do a ton of like very pro style pick and roll. They take a ton of threes. They rebound really well. I mean, like these are the sorts of things that generally pan out well in the tournament. But boy, oh boy, none of that was here tonight. I don't even want to gloat. I think Underwood's a pretty good coach. He'd be easily a top 3 coach in the ACC, like instantly.
Without a doubt.
Maybe higher than that. He might not be 3. Top 3 and not 3.
Yeah, but Shire had him in a blender.
Boy, oh boy, dude!
I knew when they panned to him and he was sitting down that he was probably over.
There's nothing better than when you pan to the other side and the dude's just chilling. he's like, I wonder if I can make it in time for the 10 p.m. screening of The Monkey at the old AMC, right? Like he's thinking ahead.
It's like, can I still get a New York slice at this time of night? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. God, there's nothing to say about this game. I'm sorry to the people listening. But
it's just hard because it was like, what are you gonna? There's nothing to be upset about. There's
nothing to analyze. There's nothing
yeah,
to
it
even
was
like. We did exactly what we wanted in every way, and they couldn't do anything at all. Period. And I've somebody in the comments said quad one is quad one. Like, yeah, I mean, Illinois is like a top 15 team in the net. 13. I mean, I bet they get knocked down to sub 15 after this blitzing that they were on the receiving end of tonight. But I mean, very clearly a quad one game going forward. Yeah, I mean, because it's more interesting than the game, and a bunch of people have mentioned in the comments the potential Lucas to Miami rumors. I don't really have much to say about it because it's not like, from what I can tell, it's not a done deal. They talked to him. That's all that is.
That's
out
all we
there.
really know is they've
They
talked.
talked to him, and which is not a surprise. He's going to be a hot commodity this offseason. If he doesn't sign with them, he's going to get interviewed by other people. There's a world in which he's gone at the end of this season. But that's an end of season problem.
Yeah, and Shire fully expected it, and he was going to bolt at some point because he's that good a coach. And honestly, if there is a leak in this, and if he has signed with Miami, it was on the Miami side because Duke doesn't leak.
Yeah,
and that's unprofessional as hell. But that's the kind of dumpster fire he's probably walking into going to Miami, because that entire situation there is just a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I thought that was so interesting that was it Zags? Was he the first guy who put it out there?
No, I don't even think he was. I think he
was somebody
probably
else.
Yeah, I think it was like not even like a top guy. It was just somebody from Miami leaked this, and I think what's his face? Is it Zagoria? No, Jeff.
Yeah, Zags. Zagoria, but Goodman said
Goodman walked it back, which I think was probably Miami calling and saying, "Hey, can you walk this back for us? Because we don't want to mess this up." But yeah, they might have messed it up, honestly.
It's certainly possible. I could speculate for days, but at the end of the day, there's nothing that we know, or at least there's nothing I know, other than the simple fact that it's been put out there that we knew he was getting talked to. That I did know. That's not, and also that was not a surprise that somebody would talk to him.
Shire wants that for his assistants.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised they're not like. You'd think that like in the ACC, like, dude, Lucas is gonna be a good coach somewhere, but also there's a lot of like dudes who are like assistants or were like we're kind of struggling right now, just period. I feel like I would feel like this offseason would be an offseason in which people would try to get head coaches, like established head coaches in the big high major jobs. But maybe Miami's like, look, we don't have the budget for a Will Wade. We don't have the budget for they want to try to go the assistant route and try to find somebody young who can be their guy going forward. Maybe that's the mentality. I'm not sure. But the rumors that we hear for like who Miami's talking to, who sort of Florida State has been circling, it sounds like, it doesn't sound like they're going for like the big name, sexy head coach types. And because ACC has a brutal coaching deficiency, that kind of I mean,
and I think that's one.
It's nothing against our guy either. I mean, like, it's just. I don't know, man.
It's a big deficiency in the ACC. Yeah, like you're saying, the coaching from SEC to ACC is such a huge drop off. I mean,
it's a drop off from any of the other major conferences. The Big East demolishes, the Big 10 demolishes, the Big 12 demolishes. I mean, like, any of those other conferences have like 6 or 7 guys who would be top 3 in the ACC. It's embarrassing.
But if Miami has no money, then no one has any money.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just blew it, or maybe they're really just pushing it all outside of basketball. I mean, that's certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
Again, that's all speculation. I don't know. But yeah, so unfortunately, I just don't have anything noteworthy to say there. He'd be missed.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a
He'll be
doubt.
missed, but also it would open some cool opportunities for some other new guys.
Yeah,
So
I think
there's all
100%
that.
J Rob, moves up a seat because he's been, a great guy, getting those bigs ready. So yeah, I mean, there's potential for Duke, to get, to bring in another guy as well. So
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, like maybe Miami is interested in him because their defense is currently 336th in KenPom. It's the most embarrassing to be like a bottom 25, bottom 30 defense in the country is the most embarrassing thing on the planet. Yeah, so I don't really want to speculate about who would be next or what would happen or what next year's roster outlook would look like if there was any changes. Obviously, I've seen a couple of comments in here being like, "Oh, would he take some people?" I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think there's that kind of it just ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, and also all of these things are wildly dependent on like 20 different factors, all of which will change in a month. So,
Exactly.
not really useful to speculate on it. Man, I tell you what, I just don't have anything to say about the game. This is the most like boring episode ever. I'm really sorry, guys, but like, what am I supposed to say?
I don't think it's boring. I think it's just, people get to put in their little quips and sometimes you need a place, something that we're all aggregated together to even if it's just we're just all in awe of it. It's still
Yeah.
a place. So
I'm very interested to see where this has us rank like in the all-time like KenPom list right now. Like I want to say right now our team is like the fourth best team of the KenPom era.
Wow.
Which is like 1997 and forward. Yeah, So and I mean you could probably guess who those other teams are, to be honest. We're currently fifth. There's a Gonzaga team in there as well that I forgot. The 21 Gonzaga team by like a hair. We'll be above them when the current game goes in. But yeah, it's 99 Duke, 2001 Duke, and 2015 Kentucky. But I think that also serves as a really nice reminder that it doesn't matter how good you are in the regular season.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. You got to win the games when it matters. I mean, also the Gonzaga team, right? So what? 3 of the top 4 did not win the title that year. Something to think about.
Yeah.
Can't take teams for granted. That was the most encouraging thing about this game. I feel like a lesser team, we're up 17 at the half, something like that. We kind of had a bit of a yawn at the end of the first half. A lesser team just comes in loafing, into the second half, and we went immediately on like a 9-0 run or like a 15-5 run or something. It just immediately kicked them down the stairs.
The last I checked, it was 21-7. That was the last time I marked it.
Just absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, to Mark's point, no one will catch 1999 Duke. We'd have to beat everybody in the tournament by like 20. It'd be ridiculous. Zach says, talk about some potential weaknesses of this team come tournament time. What type of team could give Duke trouble? It's an interesting conversation. I don't have there's not an obvious one is the thing, of course. It feels a little rote to just be like, if another team is making threes and we're missing ours, right? That's the sort of thing like that when we have a top 40 3-point attempt rate in the country. So yeah, if we go completely cold, it opens a door. We don't get to the free throw line a ton. Again, something that could happen. Obviously, Zion and I have bickered a bit about, the idea of physicality and how this team handles physicality. I think this team handles physicality better than others, for sure. Certainly better than the last 2 seasons. I think that, sometimes this is where the ACC can be a bit of a concern. It's less about this team's toughness and more about if we're used to games being called a certain way, and then we go play an SEC or a Big Ten team, and like you watch those games, and like they're playing rugby out there. So if like, I mean, the game that I always bring up is 2017, the South Carolina game, which was a weird circumstance. This was in South Carolina, but considering St. John's could end up in our bracket as a 4 seed, it's something worth considering, that playing home games or road games in the tournament is very hard, especially when you're a team Duke is used to getting some calls, right? Duke is used to, at least not being on the receiving end of a complete bloodbath from the officiating perspective. So if you go in and they're just going to let them play, and the other team just starts bruising, right, and they don't call anything, that's going to be a big adjustment for this team, given that the ACC is not physical at all. So maybe that, but we've played some physical teams and acquitted ourselves quite well. So I think it's less about the team. Maybe individual players deal with physicality slightly less well than others. But again, I'm reaching. Do you have any thoughts on this, Brian?
I mean, that's why I think this game was important. I mean, playing with officials that we're not used to, playing, a Big Ten team that's a good Big Ten team. I think this kind of game, like I said earlier, is what gets you ready for the tournament. And I think Duke's handled physicality. I mean, we played Auburn, we played obviously just now Illinois. We didn't handle Clemson as well as we should have. So there's obviously some but some of that's just you grow from it. And I think this game was a huge growth point for him, because Illinois is a decently physical team. I mean, they're not but there was some grabbing going on. There were some things that I didn't think were called that probably would have been called in the ACC. So I think they acquitted themselves fairly well.
Yeah, I mean, like you look at Illinois' whole deal and on defense, on the defensive side of things. I mean, they're a top 10 2-point percentage defense. Probably not after tonight, but top 10 in that respect. They're a top 3 team in preventing teams from shooting threes. Again, I mean, like, not convinced tonight. Although, if you look at it, we took 72 shots and only 23% of them were threes. So doing some quick math, 49 of them were twos? I mean, 23 out of 72, that's a way lower percentage than we normally do. That's 31% of our shots were threes. That's so much lower than we normally do. We normally shoot 46% of our shots are threes. So, Brent's saying Clemson and UVA are as physical as anyone. I mean, I would disagree on UVA wholeheartely this year. This year, UVA's defense sucks. Clemson was physical for sure. I mean, I definitely talked about that. But, I mean, mostly on the interior was where their physicality, I feel like, manifests itself. I don't know, but like, again, if you want to talk about Clemson and UVA, the Big Ten has 8 teams as physical as Clemson. Like the SEC has 10 teams as physical as Clemson. Like it's not a comparison, like, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think this win means a little bit more, because Illinois is used to playing against physical teams, and we handled them. I mean, there was no, they didn't look physical against us, and I think there's a reason for it.
I'll be excited to see the Wake game in Cameron. Just given that Wake, they definitely try to turn teams over. We saw them try to get up in Duke's chest. Obviously, Hildreth didn't get to play very much because he just played, but he does play rugby out there legit.
Yeah.
And they certainly try to play that way. And obviously, Duke there's a bit of a look ahead to the UNC game, obviously, there. So it'll be interesting to see how that game manifests itself. But really, that's the only remotely physical game. The rest of this, like FSU, not really. Like maybe a bit. Yeah, like they're big. It's true that they're big, but like when you look down, like they don't even rebound well. So
they're a team full of Isaiahs as far as size goes.
Sure. Yeah. The long, lanky types. Somebody said, "What's y'all's preferred 2 seed?" truthfully, I don't play that game. Like, I don't. What I would like to avoid is I'd like to avoid a Sweet 16 matchup with St. John's in Newark, New Jersey. If you're asking what I would like to avoid, do I think Duke is better than St. John's? Yes. But do you want to play a team that's that, like, maybe probably the most physical team in college basketball, like them or Houston? Basically their home court, and people are like, but it's Jersey. That's a home court for Duke. Dude, the crowd tonight was clearly like 50-50, and that was Illinois. Like, if it's in St. John's, every doctor and lawyer in the greater like Jersey area is gonna roll out, for that. Is gonna roll out. They're saying they updated the wow, yeah, Duke above a net rating of 38 on KenPom now. That is substantial. That's above 2001 Duke. That's above 2015 Kentucky.
God damn.
That's second total. That's pretty wild. Zion says he's in here. How do I let you in, Zion? Oh, there you are. Hey, here he is.
Yo, y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Is it noisy?
You in jail? Where?
Nah, I'm at the station. Listen, Russ,
So not
you were
yet.
talking about Russ. You wanted. You said we don't want Houston.
No, I didn't say we don't want Houston. I was saying that the ACC as a conference, like we're just not used to games being called a certain way compared to teams from other conferences. So somebody had asked, what are possible things that might trip Duke up in the tournament? And you obviously have to reach. Like, there's just it's very, very hard to come up with something. And the only thing that I was able to come up with that I think is tangible is the sense that, like, you watch how the Big Ten and the SEC are played night after night after night after night. And some of those teams are just going to have a little more preparation for some of the games like that than we have. We've played games like that, just not every single game the way that your Houstons have, the way that your SEC teams have, so on and so forth.
Hold on, let me get in this car and then I'm gonna talk.
Jesus Christ, what is he doing? Ridiculous. There's no there's no congestion pricing anymore. You can't. What happened there?
I think Zion's riding a bicycle back home. What is going on?
He's taking one of the e-bikes. He's got the e-bike going. His hair blowing in the wind. Fine.
Zion's on a scooter, everybody.
Oh my goodness.
Kyle says, not taking away from the amazing win, but do you worry about how many wide open threes Duke gave up? Because a team that can shoot that wouldn't be good. Yeah, I mean, like, Duke occasionally has given up some threes. We don't have an elite level of denying teams 3-point shots. But as I said earlier, I thought even some of the shots that quote unquote looked open, we were still throwing large bodies jumping right at them. I mean, I don't know. I'm ultimately not enormously concerned, but sure, that is certainly a way in which any team, Duke, Auburn, any team could lose the NCAA tournament if the other team is hitting their threes. That's the great equalizer. That's a given.
Yeah, I think that might have been part of the scouting report, considering that, Illinois shoots 31%, that maybe we don't have to be there on the catch necessarily to prevent them from shooting 40%. So some of that might have been scouting report because they don't have shooters whatsoever.
Yeah.
You're not going to guard them like you're going to guard a Clemson out, from out there on the perimeter. Yeah.
Although we gave them some looks too. I would say we've given teams pretty consistently some looks this year. That not all the time. We're not just leaving dudes out there, but they pretty routinely get some okay looks because I think the calculus there is, well, with our length being the longest, biggest team in the country, even if it's open, we can make a contest better. We don't necessarily need to run them off the line through pressure. We can intimidate with our length and our height when they catch the shot. Sometimes that doesn't work out in our favor, but generally speaking, I mean, I don't know what our 3-point percentage defense, although that gets up and down. I mean, so we're top 40 in the country in that. We're sort of middle of the pack in terms of how often we let teams shoot threes. So I mean, I hear the concerns, but I think against most teams, it's not a problem.
Question: have you guys addressed the elephant in the room?
What, Jay Lucas?
No. I didn't honestly even want to talk about that. But
What we gave it just the briefest sprinkling earlier. That was all.
What's the elephant?
Caleb Foster,
What about him?
He was hooping.
yeah, he's out. He's out the rotation completely. Like that is cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
it's been that way though. I mean, is that a new revelation?
I don't think
you
it's
know what I
new.
saw today that I hadn't seen from him in months? He's smiling on the court. He was smiling on the court.
I didn't get the look on his face. So
He was
About-
at the free throw line smiling. I hadn't seen that. I'm hoping
happy,
that's a good sign.
I'm happy he's at least like in good spirits because
He was cheering. We saw him on the sideline when like the guys would dunk or like people were making baskets. He was standing up. He was engaged. At least towards the second half. The elephant in the room is you're correct that he is basically out of the rotation. That is true.
yeah,
You know, he's our 9th man at this point. You know,
ninth man with Malik. Oh no. Wait, did Pat play before him today? I think he did.
Yes. Caleb didn't come in until the second half.
and late into
Late in
the second half.
6 minutes left or something like that.
He scored 12 points in 7 minutes. He was going, and he committed 3 fouls too. My man was pressed, dude. He was going for it. Which, dude, that you got to make the most of it.
And I think he did. I mean, I wonder if Shire will mention him in the post game. I would not be surprised if he said something.
I wouldn't be surprised either. Yeah, but I mean, he's played a combined 20 minutes the last 3 games, and then those are games in which we won by 18-36, and like whatever today was $1 billion. So to only play 20 combined minutes out of 120 possible in basically 3 blowouts, it says something. It does about his place in the rotation, which is a shame, but also I don't think it's for the worse that it's that way. I think in terms of team play, it's probably for the better.
And they mentioned it. What Sion with? Did I do it again? It's your fault, man. It's your fault.
You cannot do this. You can't do this, Brian.
This is Russ's fault. This is Russ's fault. He did it earlier, and he got in my head, man.
Well, I did it, and I caught myself immediately because I was planning a rant about all the people that call him Sion, and because I was thinking about it, then I planted called him Sion for half a second, dude. It was so embarrassing. It's one too many beers. That's my fault. Yeah.
What did they say he was with him as a starting point guard, 18-1 or something like that?
But before he joined the starting lineup, the on-off splits of how much better the team was on both sides of the ball with Sion in the game versus when Caleb was in the game were startling. I mean, like, it was night and day, But
it's also to be expected. I mean, he's,
It's true. And Foster, as we've talked about on this show, I mean, I just think that because he did so well in a few big spots last year, that it glossed over the fact that he was a player that always was going to need some work. The stroke has always needed work. The defense has always needed work. The ball does tend to stick in his hands a little bit on offense. And then he was hurt, right? So then that obviously doesn't help with the development. So these aren't things that I even blame him for.
No,
but they're also, it's also just a perfect example of when when people are like, we've got him and he'll be better next year. So he'll be our guy because he's definitely going to be better next year. You kind of have to see the forest for the trees on some of these things. It's not a given. And I think that's why we went out and pursued James. I mean, like, that's why we pursued Gillis, just to make sure we had some minutes to play there. And the team is much better for it. It's nothing against Caleb. It's just what it is.
Development is not a straight line.
Development is not a straight line. That's exactly right.
I will say, though, I know we do play this guy will kill it in the second year card a lot. But I think it's a guarantee for Isaiah, man. If he does get the second year, the kid is going to be a star.
Well, you see the trajectory also in terms of like how much better he's playing over the course of like now,
Mhm.
right? Versus
He's
before.
defending.
His defense is significantly better, at least on ball. He's pretty obviously better defensively. Off ball, every once in a while you'll catch a thing, but I mean, even there, his activity level is just really high. He's just really making the most of those opportunities. I don't know. I feel like there's a world in which, in a different, when y'all saw the first three that he took, there was like a total air ball. Earlier in the season, he gets yanked. I feel like once that happens, right? And instead, he gets there. He has the really good drive to the basket, the attempted dunk. He makes his next 2 threes, and now he's cooking. Right now, he can just play the rest of the way. I think that Isaiah also just has the thing of like his O rating is 131.9. That's for a freshman, that's preposterous. I mean, like he has things clearly to work on before going to the next level. I think everybody knows that, but he's also a freshman, So next year he comes back. We know his shot is going to fall because it looks great, and he's got some stuff offensively. We know that it's great. I mean, his free throw form also looks good. He's getting more aggressive, which is great. If the assist rate kicks up next year, would be great. The rebounding numbers kicking up would be great. Continued off-ball awareness. Again, that's a freshman to sophomore leap that generally tends to happen. I'm very excited about what Isaiah could be next year. I'm very excited.
Maybe he gets some weight on him. Maybe weighs more than just a sack of oranges.
Weight is
That's what I
also
was going to say. He's going to put on some weight too, and that's going to help a lot with get some rebound and stuff like that. But my question to y'all is, when's the last time we've had a scorer like this off the bench that he could give you 20 any night?
Never. Because Kay was like, if you can score, you're in the game, period. Like there was no bench. There's never really been a bench. Duke has never really had a bench. Not like that.
Yeah. Like even Grayson wasn't like, he didn't give us that. He gave it to us a game when he dropped 30. But he didn't give us that.
But Grayson didn't play very much.
Yeah, he was here for like 6 games in a row.
People forget how sparingly he played throughout the course of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know the last time we've had someone that can do this consistently.
I don't think it's ever happened.
Not a scorcher. Not somebody like that.
Like a microwave. No. It's never been.
I mean, I want to like look back. Was there an era where like no, I mean like if Kyrie had stuck around, then Seth Curry would have been off the bench. Like I was trying to think of like who our good scorers were that like actually at like some point in time would have come off the bench, but I mean it's a tough thing to find.
Especially with Kay, like I think in the last, decade when it was like, is he going to keep coaching? Is he going to not keep coaching? He was like, okay, let's shove everybody who can score in. Might not defend super great, but we're going to score. And so I don't think there was never any talent left on the bench because everybody was in the game.
I wonder who out of like Duke players, bench players with 15+ point games. You know what I mean? Like I wonder where that like metrically. I'm gonna ask like Connor O'Neill to figure that out or something because I feel like that would be really interesting. Without looking at how many Isaiah has had this year, it's got to be the most. I feel like
I can't imagine that it's happened.
Very he's so Isaiah's done it 4 times, and then he's had 14 points 2 more times. So I mean, that'd be like 6 games of 14+ off the bench. Even though he must only be averaging like 12 minutes a game, 13. It's wild, man. He's having such a great, like more than anything, a really fun freshman year.
Yeah, he's enjoying it. You could just tell.
He's got great personality. I mean,
I need to see that dude in some commercials.
God, I just. Yeah.
If no crockpot people have approached him, they're missing out. Like whoever makes crockpots, man.
Him next year, he could move mountains with, if there's a Boozer and some point guard or a Boozer and whomever like pick and roll, and then Isaiah is on the court like how many looks is Isaiah going to get? It's going to be ridiculous. You
Yeah.
know? So, somebody's bringing up Mark says Grayson in 2017. Was he off the bench in 2017?
I don't think
As a
so. I think he was a
junior?
starter after.
I'd have to look. I mean, I could be tripping, but no. Well, he started most of the games, and then I think in the last like 5 or 6 games he did not start, and he came off the bench. But the majority of the year he started. Somebody brought up Maggette. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he scored that much. He had electrifying plays, but I don't know if he was that much of a scorer per se.
What are we talking about?
Maggette?
Corey Maggette. That's what I was on the cusp of saying is he the greatest best scorer we've had at Duke ever?
I mean, Maggette put up almost 11 points a game on less than 18 minutes a game. I mean, like that's very efficient.
What's Isaiah at?
I'm looking it up right now. Isaiah is at like a little under 7 points a game, but he's also playing only 13 minutes a game, right?
I feel like if we skewed the stats to at least 18 minutes, I feel like.
Well, I can look up what their per 40s are. So Maggette would score 24 points per 40 minutes, and Evans would be at 20 points per 40 minutes.
Okay.
So Maggette's like a little ahead. But Maggette also much like and Maggette also rebounded more. Like he still wasn't like a guy who was like really out there creating a bunch of stuff, but like he had a little more of that in his bag, at least at the present moment in time, than Isaiah does. But Isaiah does have that swagger to him.
Yeah,
without question.
One thing we definitely got to address is NBA Twitter is very nasty, man. You know, and I know the M grads. I saw that tweet, bro. I know it was motivated by your hate for Duke, but stop that nonsense. He would have been a top 5 pick if he went to another school, man. Stop, man. Like, come on, bro. Like, let him thrive in the role. He showed up to Duke for a reason. Like he said it himself. He wanted the grind. He wanted the struggle of having to earn his minutes. Talking about he would be a top 5 pick. He would be a top 5 pick if he went to NC State. No, he wouldn't.
Nope.
Nobody's a top 5 pick at NC State. Also, he wasn't. It's not like he was a top 5 pick like coming into the season.
He wasn't. I don't even think it's really. I mean, maybe it was one and done lottery, but like.
I don't even think he was there, dude. I think people were talking about just that he's skinny and that he is a scorer, but his other parts of his game, need continued work. Which I think is true, even with him being a super awesome player. I mean, but he's a freshman. I mean, like, what a promising. This is like the sort of guy where we're so spoiled by freshmen because we get freshmen who are like the greatest freshmen who ever lived. This is the sort of dude that if he's on your team as a freshman, you are like, this guy is the best freshman we've ever. He's the best freshman that like most teams have ever had.
Exactly. And that's what everyone else is like. He should go to the draft. Like,
well, that's just them being haters, dude. That's just them being dumb. Nobody actually thinks that. Otherwise, he would have been higher on the season draft stuff. Like.
That's a good point, Derek. Has Givney tweeted anything about Evans today? He's always tweeting about Khan, man. I always see the Khan and Cooper flag tweets. I don't see it. That man's been
Evans' agent hasn't been. But also, man. Like I think to that point, what Evans is elite at is shooting and scoring, and mostly shooting, right? Like rebounding. He's not there. Assists, never. Defense, getting better at a rate that I'm really impressed with, but not like NBA level defender at all right now.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like basically every component of the game other than shooting and scoring, which is a huge part of it. But like,
and he realizes that, which I think is the best part. He knows he's got to get better, and that's what you want.
And like
And
that's
he's,
what people.
and that's why he continues to get better over the course of the
Yeah.
season. I mean,
That's
it's
what
the
people are
worst.
kind of not factoring in this case is how much Isaiah Evans benefits from just having to score and not really having to worry about. He's playing with a great defense. He's playing with the most unselfish team we've seen at Duke in a long time. Like he doesn't have to. All he has to do is worry about putting the ball in him. That's the perfect.
And he's having things run for him as well. Like they're getting all those flare screens for him to be in a position to make those shots.
Doesn't have to create any.
William, no serious mocks, dude. No serious mocks.
No. I can throw up a mock right now.
Maybe NBADraft.net or something. Like,
NBADraft.net.
NBA official NBA mockdraft.edu. It's not happening, dude. It's not real. I heard Vicini had a really interesting mock draft episode of his show, and he had Flag at number 1. Obviously, he had Man at 7, and he had 2 interesting things to say. One about Man and one about Khan. The interesting thing about Khan was he wanted him at 10 to in his mock the Spurs, and he's basically like wherever the Spurs pick, if Khan's on the board, they have to pick Khan. Like
that's a really good pick for
that.
him.
It's the perfect move. That he's good enough defensively to play alongside De'Aaron Fox, right, and sort of help out in that respect. And he's got like sort of the strength, the stability in that regard. He's a great shooter. He's a great floor spacer. He's a great like second creator, secondary ball mover. I mean, he's got everything that an NBA team is looking for, in particular one that has their point guard and has their center. So, I mean, like, I thought that was a really interesting idea. So, basically, he was like, Khan could go higher than this if the Spurs pick higher, but in his particular Maki at 10. And then, Man, I thought the most interesting thing, and I texted Zion this, his comparison was Jakob Poeltl that somebody had told him about, which I really respected for 2 reasons. One, he wasn't lazily like picking an African big man from the NBA whose game did not resemble his, which is generally what happens. And 2, the question they were asking was like, well, how often do big men whose hands aren't great, how often do they make an impact, on like a level of a top 5-ish adjacent type of pick, because his hands aren't great. But it's one of the things you can say about him. And he said, Poeltl, his freshman year at Utah, now he was a 2-year player, but his freshman year at Utah, his hands were a little funky. He obviously couldn't really defend in space, but because he's so big, he did a pretty good job of at least like occupying space. He obviously went back to school and then averaged like 18 and 9, and he was an All-American, which I think if Man came back to school would more or less be what I would expect from him, would be that kind of thing. Yeah. But I thought that was a really interesting player comparison in terms of like what one can expect or hope for him at the next level, beyond like becoming like an MVP level, whatever, which is what, people throw that Joel Embiid comp out there, and it's completely unfair, but
he's not going to sweep people's legs like Embiid.
Also, people forget Embiid was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, and he was playing like 22 minutes a game.
And he was like, although he was raw, he was still polished. Like he was still dream shaking everybody in the post.
Correct. Yeah, he had some handle like for a guy his size. Yeah.
I think he played more basketball than Malawach had at that point.
At that point, for sure.
I think what they had said on the podcast, and again, maybe I'm wrong, is that I think they both came to basketball at a somewhat similar time, but Embiid had been playing soccer and volleyball for a long time. So like, he was a goalie in soccer or whatever, and he was playing volleyball. So like his hands were really good right away in a way that Man just aren't, in a way that most raw players who are relatively new to the game just aren't. Which I thought was an interesting point. If all 3 went in the top 10, I think that'd be really cool.
Is Man still playing with the brace? Honestly,
I didn't notice it today, but also
I saw it today.
You did see it today?
I think I did. I can't tell if it was a picture I saw earlier today that was an old picture or if it was him today I'm curious about that. If he's still having some
Yeah, I
some
was
issues
there.
there.
I don't know if I saw.
Here's a comment. No, wait, not that one. This one. Tyrese, any chance he returns back? Dude, just enjoy the present, man.
Yeah, man. Why are we
Enjoy the
talking about
present.
like declaring for the NBA? Like, come on, bro. Like, this is a great. Like, I left MSG today. Like, yo, I was like, yo, I was sad. A part of me was sad because it's like, yo, there's like 4 games left in the regular season. Like time is running out with this team. You better just enjoy it. Enjoy the
This
ride.
team,
Man.
this is one of the most. I mean, I've been watching Duke basketball for, not to date myself, but over 30 years now, and like, this is one of the most enjoyable teams I can recall watching. I mean, it's like, obviously some of those teams when you're young, you're just like, these are my favorite players ever, but like as an adult, this might be like the most enjoyable, or a top 2 enjoyable like adult life team that I've had. I mean, it's really, really great.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Like,
Yeah, and I mean, so I'm not worried about what's going to happen in terms of returning guys next year. We're going to enjoy what's happening now. Obviously, if we win it all, I think guys will go. That'll ramp up the chances that guys go. As it should. They'll have earned it. And then it'll just come down to, I think, a lot of the guys who aren't stone cold lock first rounders will just have the same conversation that everybody else is having. Do they want to go right away? Do they think they can make more money in the second round of the NBA draft than they could by returning to Duke? I'm sure there will be a couple of players who will consider if they can make more money or have more impact in the portal. It's just going to happen for every single team. Is this better than any Redick team I watched? I mean, dude, I'm so removed from objective, feelings about that era. Like in 2004, I was at Duke, right? Luol Deng was on my hall like all the time, hanging out, playing video games. Redick was around all the time. I don't think it was 04, but it might have been the next year. Like the girl that Sheldon was seeing was right by where I was, so I saw Sheldon all the time. I went to so many of the games. I can't be objective about those teams. Like I think 04 was like, I mean, obviously, objectively, like the most exciting of those teams. But yeah, I mean, I will say it's people don't understand who weren't there when it happened how electric JJ was, man. They just don't get it. They don't get it. Like JJ was one of the best like players I've ever seen play college basketball, because they'd be throwing 2 or 3 guys at him and he'd still get the ball and he'd still shoot threes and he'd still make a huge percentage of them and he'd drop like 30 in a game every once in a while. Like it was like the joy that we get watching Isaiah just go beast mode. Extend that over like a season. That's kind of like, have Isaiah in every game for 40 minutes doing what he is doing the entire game at all times. And that's what it felt like watching JJ out there.
And they beat that man up. I mean, at the end of the games, you see scratches all over JJ. I mean,
yeah.
They were grabbing him, scratching him, doing everything they could, and they still couldn't stop that man.
And it sucked that at the end of the year, like, at the end of the day, he was just so much better than everybody else was on offense for the rest of those teams that it just became a relatively 2-note team. It was JJ, it was Sheldon, and guys, and I think that's why, he ran out of steam in some of those, games down the stretch, because he's playing he's playing a ton of minutes a game and he never stopped moving at all. And he's getting beat up all the time. I think about a lot what would have happened if Sean Livingston would have come to Duke as he was supposed to.
Yep.
That would have made a huge difference.
Movie.
Yeah, man.
That's
what I think about.
When he that hurt my
I'm
soul.
dating myself so hard right now also. This is
old
insane.
man.
It's ridiculous.
Wait, did you guys see Shire's comments on Jay?
No, what's up?
So he said, let me just share the screen. No, I'll just read it.
Yeah, I didn't know how to share the screen. My bad.
You good? You good? Shire said absolutely. He's a head coach, no question about it. It's part of why I hired him. The job he's done for us has been incredible. Any report or anything that's out there, I'm just getting wind of it now. We'll cross that bridge and figure it out. But I can tell you 100%, Jay is an amazing coach. He's been great for these guys. We'll continue to move forward together and figure that all out. But he's terrific, man. That's good. I like that. That was kind of the response I wanted him to. Like, just hype him up, and move on.
Well, that's what Brian said earlier. And honestly, if he doesn't go for this job, the chances that he gets a high major job somewhere this offseason has got to be high. I mean, so then it just comes down to which one does he want, et cetera. I'm kind of, I don't think Texas would actually do this, but they got to get rid of Rodney Terry, man. So
already,
that quick?
He is doo-doo. Those teams.
He's a good recruiter, but that's about it.
Those teams stink, man.
They've got a team, but that feels soon to pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, but he only got the job because they went to the Elite Eight when Beard got kicked out. But when you look at how they were playing when Beard left, and then where they ended the season, they didn't get any better. It was still this. They still just basically played the exact same as they were under Beard. And then the second the next season started, it was oh, that's right, we're stuck with this guy now. Great, he was.
I'd rather get a better job, honestly, than Miami. that place is a dumpster.
There's this. It might not be a better city than Miami, but it's
I don't think he cares about the city. That man's old and kids now. He ain't worried about the city. He's worried about schools and chilling and.
Well, you can't have fun when you have kids. Come on.
No, you can't.
You can have a little fun.
You guys are the vets there. Can't speak on that.
That he knows of.
I know.
I don't know, man. I think that's going to be an interesting conversation, but it's not really. It doesn't really affect Duke at all. It affects him in the sense that he's a good coach and he'd be leaving. But I think that we have people lined up that would join us. In family or out of family like Lucas was. I think we have just a bevy of options. I kind of think that's why they made that move. It was just to kind of put everybody on notice of if we want this is such a self-aggrandizing thing to say, but I think it's true. If we want your assistant coach, we'll get him. We'll get him. What will we do about it?
There's no better springboard from
Yeah, and
now,
we kind of knew
how the Duke assistants have performed as head coaches elsewhere is an entirely different.
Oh, here you go. Nah, here you go. Biggest hater.
Who's Zion? Who's the best former Duke assistant turned head coach? Name the top three. Top three.
Was Quinn Snyder's an assistant?
Quinn Snyder was an assistant, but. Let's limit it to college. What he's done in the NBA is really cool, but his college tenure was not awesome.
You said top three?
Top three former Duke
That's
assistants
hard, though,
turned head coaches.
because the assistants have had good stretches, and fallen off, and then because Chris Collins had a good stretch.
The ones that you're most impressed with, the ones that you're these are guys that I think should be Let's say John Shire gets sucked up into Thanos' portal and can't be the head coach next year, and then they're talking to Duke people. What Duke people are you comfortable them interviewing to be the next coach of Duke? If John Shire gets blinked by the Infinity Gauntlet snap out of him,
crazy hypothetical. It's like I said, I don't know, because it's people have had good stretches. I see Amaker in the comments. I see Johnny Dawkins. He has some stretches at UCF, but it's not that they're not their whole body of work is not amazing. So what do you want me to say?
No, I think I don't know if I can name three. It's individual years. Individual years are different. I think a lot of the guys have been good recruiters, But in terms of like guys that you trust to like draw up like the good play to win you the game, like almost none. The thing that I like about Chris Collins is that those teams never don't fight. Like those teams are compared to the rest of the Big Ten, talent deficient, and they fight insanely hard every single time. So I really like that. I think the people that bring up Amaker have not been watching Harvard over the last decade. They remember that he won the Ivy a couple of years in a row at one point, but over the last 8 years, I bet he hasn't won the Ivy, hasn't made the tournament. Maybe he made the tournament like once. He's always had the most talent in the Ivy and has not been there. And then you look at his tenure at Seton Hall. You look at his tenure at Michigan. Come on, man. Give me a break with the Amaker stuff.
I see a lot of Cable number ones though. That should not please you though.
Cable probably should be in the top 3. Like Cable probably has to be there. I don't love the way that Cable draws up his offense. I wouldn't trust it. But he went to the Elite 8 Final Four with Blake Griffin. He went far. He had a 1 seed with Blake Griffin, and bringing Blake Griffin to school, you get credit for. And then at Pitt, he has had a couple of seasons in the last 3 or 4 years that went pretty well when he had good ISO offensive performers on the roster. Am I tripping? I don't think I'm tripping that hard, dude.
Cable could win a national championship and you still find something.
No, that's that's wrong. That's wrong.
But you're saying like you're watering down all the things that have made him somewhat successful coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think that don't make me pull up his record, guys. I love Jeff Capel. He's an awesome dude, and I realized that he inherited a poverty program when he got there.
So he said Capel draws up an offense.
He's been there 7 years, and he's made the tournament once as an 11 seed. He has never done better than an 11-loss season at Pittsburgh. He had one season at Oklahoma where they lost fewer than 12 games.
All right. Let's just.
We get it, man. We get it.
I know. My all-time. He was a player when I was growing up. I love Jeff Capel, but I don't know that I love him as a head coach necessarily. All my favorite dudes. Wojo is one of my favorite human beings. Period. But he's not coaching right now. I don't know. Yeah, that's true, Brian. Brian, the reason why we're talking about this is because the game tonight was so insanely boring that we have nothing else interesting to talk about. Sorry, you're right. I apologize. And you know what? Those guys, all it takes to let me caveat everything that I just said by saying every single coach ever has been the guy that can't do it until he's the guy that does it, right? And then once you do it, now you're the guy that's done it, right? So just because you have not done it yet or have not done it consistently does not mean that you are incapable of ever doing it.
Facts.
And these are all super awesome dudes who's playing at Duke. I loved very, very much. It's just what it is. Also, I don't think that I'm the only person ever who's made this comment. So whatever.
Sure. But quick question. Did y'all talk about possible matchups? I know you mentioned Houston before.
No, I mean, no, because there's no real point, I don't think.
But who do we think? Or do we think St. John's is going to still end up as a 4 seed?
I mean, I personally don't, but it's possible. I mean, if they lose a game, then they're probably on the 4 line, I feel like.
Because I saw Michigan lost, Texas A&M lost this week. I don't know who's going to end up as in our. I mean, I'd be fine if it was Tennessee as a 2 seed. I'm cool.
Yeah, I think Duke can beat anybody. And I think that if we face a team and they're making their threes and we're not, then we can be beat in the same way that Auburn can be beat or that Houston can be beat or that anybody can be beat. But I think that's what it's going to take. It's going to take us having a bad night and the other team having a good night. You know, beyond that, like what individual defenders can stop Cooper Flag? Okay, you can probably name like a couple of the best defenders in the country. St. John's probably has one. Houston has one. Do they then have enough to stop also Khan and also Tyrese the way he's been
But you
playing?
think they can stop Cooper Flag?
I think they can slow him. They can make him inefficient and slow him
Ain't
down.
nobody slowing Cooper Flag down.
Okay, you're right. He's never had an inefficient game all season. My fault.
Well, he's had inefficient games, but I don't think it was because of the defense. Like when you look at Kentucky, I'm pretty sure he shot 0 for 3 that game, 0 for 4 from deep that game.
There are games where he's turned over the ball a lot, and I don't think that he was just dropping the ball. I think the defense was making him drop the ball.
Freshman stuff, yeah, but like I think by March, I don't see.
That's all I'm saying, dude.
All right. I'm just telling you.
The point that I'm making though is that if Cooper has a game where he only scores 10 points or whatever because they have the personnel to try to handle Cooper and get in his grill a little bit, okay. How then do you also have the personnel to stop your Khan, to stop Tyrese, to stop Sion when he's playing like he was playing tonight, to stop Isaiah Evans from, getting off the curls and making his threes that way? You just have to, how do you stop Man from his lobs? Like, you just have to be able to stop a lot of stuff at once. And that doesn't factor in the fact that Duke is also playing very, very well defensively right now. And so not only do you have to try to stop them, you also have to score. This is how basketball is played. So I don't know, I don't know what teams definitely have that. Like, do I think there are some teams that if they're making their shots could do it? Of course. I don't know which team that is. I'm going to bet on Duke. I would bet on Duke the whole way.
Yeah.
But also, if you told me that something weird happened, it's the tournament. That also happens. I mean, it's what it is. So I don't, that's why I don't get too caught up on when people post in the Discord how do you feel about this matchup? As I said earlier, the only thing that I would prefer to avoid is St. John's in Newark, especially in the Sweet 16. That I would prefer to avoid, not because I don't think we can beat St. John's, but because when you're playing a true road game in the tournament, weird shit happens.
Yeah, that's definitely a true road game. Compared to what I saw tonight from Illinois, if Illinois could do that, imagine St. John's fans having an opportunity to go to Newark.
Duke fans trip so hard being like, oh, it's in Jersey. Oh, we're going to have 90% of the people there. Or whatever. It's a home game for Duke. It's it's probably not, though. It's probably not.
It's not. You got to realize, too, all the teams are going to be there.
For a quarter century, dude.
Exactly.
St. John's has been straight cheeks for a quarter century. They are hungry to get out there and support this team.
Yeah.
You watch those games in the Big East right now. Those games are live, man. Those games are unreal.
Yeah. I mean, Illinois brought it tonight. Respect to them, but not the team didn't. Fans did though.
Yeah. The team brought.
The team didn't though.
The team brought an empty cup and a cardboard sign.
There's got to be a T-shirt I paid this much money to see this game at MSG and we got 40 people.
Yeah, and those tickets were expensive today, man. I don't know what was on. I don't know, Cooper tax or something. That was crazy. MSG. That was crazy.
It's because the team is really good this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all it is. And I'm sure that a lot of the Illinois fans probably bought when their team was also looking like a top 15 type team. I mean, they got a top 5 draft pick on their roster, right? I mean, they got some dudes. They just sucked today. They just weren't good.
They just can't shoot. Will Riley is a really good player, but he just did not have a really good game.
Their big man is good. I mean, we could see his passing. We could see the way that he plays. I mean, the big man is good. They are still a top 10 2-point percentage defense even after today. They've clearly got stuff. It's just it was just a shitty day for them.
There's the quad one, right?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say there's the quad one, right?
Oh yeah, by a landslide. Yeah, there's no threat of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, Duke ultimately is going to end this season. I'm going to look it up right now.
Did we lose a quad one today? Someone was saying that Wake Forest, did they lose today?
Yeah, No, wait,
Yeah,
yeah,
Wake.
they lost to freaking NC State.
Today? Oh, Lord.
Yeah, they are trash. They got to get that.
I hate the quad one talk, man. Like,
I
you
don't.
can't control it.
Wait, who said they're gonna? Who said they've fallen out of the top? Oh, I'm gonna look that up. I don't think that's right, dude. Yeah, that can't be right because Wake Forest is currently. Oh no, this is last year's. Hold up. I'm gonna look up the real one. I had up the real one earlier. That's what I get for using Google. Google sucks. Even this year, Wake Forest is still 60th in the net. They have to be in the top 75. I mean, like, there's no way losing NC State knocks them down 15. That's preposterous. They'll still stay quad one. I don't see that dropping. Now, it won't be quad one in Cameron, but it wasn't going to be anyway. Like, we have one quad one game left, and that's the game against Carolina. That's the only one we have left.
Thank God it's still quad one.
Yeah, and I mean, even in the ACC tournament, the only teams that would be quad one would be Clemson, Louisville, SMU, and then I mean, it's not even a given that UNC will be quad one. They're 45th right now, so like they're probably going to stay quad one. But I mean, if we blow them out, they might not be quad one anymore on a neutral court. So
for neutral, it's top
10 or less.
Neutral is top 50. Yeah, home is top 30. Neutral is top 50, and then road is top 75. 75? 70? I think it's 75.
UNC fans are on one, man. They beat Virginia.
Extend Hubert Davis. Extend Hubert Davis.
This played right into the cards, right into our cards.
Dude, if they... I would love them to. I want them to do a what is that joint the play-in game. I want them to get to the first four, and then they beat like a 6 seed, and then they like lose the next. But then it's like, hey, well they won a game. They're still they made the tournament.
Put them in that new tournament. Put them in that Vegas tournament.
There's
What's
something
it called?
There. The NIT.
No. There's a
or
new tournament.
You want the sub NIT one.
There's a new tournament this year. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, I saw the commercials for it.
Yeah, it's in Vegas. Send them there.
Where the losers congregate.
No, that's where Wake Forest is going to go.
Oh man,
so much talent on that team. How does this happen?
But
I don't want to say that. He's such a nice guy.
I'm sure he is a nice guy, but there's. The entire D1 landscape is filled with great dudes who, if you don't get the results, you got to go.
Yeah, Kenny Payne was the nicest of guys.
Dude, I can't emphasize enough. Who was I talking to recently? I think we were talking about ACC coaches in general, and people would be like, oh, no, but you got to give this coach another year. You got to give I was talking to Indiana people because they could have had Dusty May last offseason. They waited to give Mike Woodson another year. Now they're not going to get Dusty May. They've lost him. And it's like, you don't need to give coaches another year in today's landscape. Like, we saw what Jerome Tang did right away. We saw what Tommy Lloyd did right away. We saw what Pat Kelsey has done right away. Like, you can rebuild a roster from scratch today. Like, you don't need to go, well, he's got to get his guys in there. You can start over today and bring in nothing but your guys. You don't need to wait 4 years to see how they do with their guys. You can give a coach 2 years. And if after 2 years his ass sucks, let him go and find somebody else. Extenuating circumstances, if there's a big injury, whatever, sure, I get it. But you look at Shrewsbury throwing a fit. Shrewsbury's a coach that I trust. I think he's a pretty good coach. Where are the results? They are one Marcus Burton transfer portal away from being doo-doo next year. You know what I mean?
Are they going to make the ACC tournament? There's 3 teams that don't make the ACC tournament this year.
It might not be. I think Notre Dame lost again today.
Oh, God.
Not making the ACC tournament is a crazy late for that.
This is the first year of that, right?
No, who won today? So State beat Wake Forest. So I don't think Notre Dame will miss because they've got 6 wins already. Like,
Yeah.
and Miami's definitely missing. So, like, BC and NC State have 4, and the Syracuse, Cal have 5, UVA and Notre Dame have 6. But Shrewsbury is out for at least a little bit. It seems like with an injury. And Notre Dame's next 2 games are at Clemson, loss, at Wake Forest. I mean, I would think a loss, but Wake
Notre Dame
Forest
won,
clearly
didn't they?
just wants the
Didn't they
season
do
to
this?
end. Huh?
Did Notre Dame win today?
They did. They beat Pitt.
Oh man,
I'm not saying anything, but no, they beat Pitt.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, I've turned it towards positivity. I'm positive that Notre Dame beat Pitt today. So,
Georgia Tech.
so yeah, man. I think Notre Dame's probably going to be fine but like, they won't be good next year if Burton's not there.
They got a good recruiting class though, don't they?
Yeah, but do you trust that they'll, immediately be? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why would you hang on to, like, you go down the list? Why would you give Forbes another year when he's 0 for 6 or whatever it is and making the tournament? Like, get a new coach. Syracuse, don't give Autry another year. Don't give him another second. Don't let him get back on the bus. You know what I mean? Get him out of there.
Dame's got a top 5 recruiting class.
NC State, I don't care that Kevin Keats made the Final Four last year. Get him out of there, dude.
Well, I think a lot of it is like a lot of coaches are getting more years because they want to throw that money into NIL. I think that might be why a lot of these coaches are getting extra years.
Bad vibes. I mean, like, I think Mark Madsen is a coach with a lot of potential. They've been bad for 2 years now. Like, maybe you give him a third because Madsen's a young guy, but if you said Cal thinks they can get, whomever, that's another one, dude. That's one actually that worked out, that Stanford figured it out. They lucked into Kyle Smith. They lucked into it. They could have had Madsen, and then they lucked into Smith instead. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
this is the only thing we have to talk about because there's nothing interesting about the game tonight.
So do the outro, Russ. It's your turn to do the outro, man. Do a little outro for us.
What outro? What do I do?
Wrap us up, man.
Oh, okay, great. Hey, if you're still listening, congratulations.
You've won prize.
We'll be back next week. I'm going to be hosting again probably because Zion's going to be in North Carolina, I think.
Oh, man. Drop the bomb on him. Drop the bomb.
Are you? I couldn't remember where you were going to be.
Maybe. Might be in Durham. Might be in Durham, man. We'll see, though.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to mention it ahead of time. Now all the girls are going to blow up your phone,
Oh, my goodness.
Florida State?
I messed up the game for you here.
I think it's Wake.
Okay.
Next Saturday. Whatever.
Oh, you're gonna be next Saturday isn't Wake. Next Saturday is FSU.
Yeah.
Oh, is that FSU?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then probably Florida State. Yeah. What's the word? What's the word, Russ? If you're listening,
I don't know. You do it. I don't know. I'm tired.
You're listening at this point.
Oh, what's like the catchphrase?
Yeah.
I don't know. Monty's saying what's the code word? Yeah. I don't know. I'm fried, man. I was running around all day.
The code word is Russ is fried. Russ.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That works.
You got to this point, and listen, if you got to this point, you're an hour and 30 in, so that's real love. If you're, we appreciate you for tuning in that much and listening. But if you got to this point, Russ is fried is the code
Hashtag
word.
Russ is fried. Hashtag editing out all the negative Duke ranting. That'll be a YouTube exclusive. That'll be a goofy, man. All right, Brian, thanks for being here. Zion, thanks for joining in from MSG and then from home. Way to make it home safe. We'll see you guys next Saturday.
Peace.
Go to hell, Carolina, baby.